Because you get into the middle of things, in media res, you get into the middle of the action. So the audience, the viewer, has to make up what has happened before. Also, we get rid of the boring stuff, like knock knock, who's there, good evening, please come in, right? But there are scenes in a screenplay that we are not allowed to do that. There are scenes, most of them are called critical scenes, that we have to develop them in full. We have to have them from the beginning to the ending of the scene. Critical scenes in relation to the narrative structure. Some of these scenes are called plot points. You may have heard the term, midpoints, and so on. But there are more. It was a Greek guy, it was Aristotle, who, in his definition of tragedy, said that the part of the narration contains the qualities of the whole. So the part of the myth contains the qualities of the myth. And he said, he said that the myth consists of 3 parts. He called them beginning, middle, and ending. He also defined each one of them. What is a beginning, what is a middle, and what is an ending. And you may have heard that he also said that beginning stands for introduction, middle stands for conflict, and ending stands for resolution. This is the myth, this is the whole, this is the drama. But the part contains the qualities of the whole. So the part, the scene, when it is fully developed, still has a beginning, a middle, and an ending. You may look at your scenes as mini dramas. This is what we are going to do, but we are going to do it in a playful way. We are going to see a scene, a fully developed scene, a big scene. And we are going to watch. We're going to try to see the parts, how this scene unfolds, how this scene is constructed. But we will do 2 things at the same time, which is a very good advice for someone who is about to write a scene. Scenes shouldn't do one thing. They should be more complex. They should work in more than one way, pushing plot forward or revealing character. But the best thing is when the plot is pushed forward while at the same time the characters are revealed. We're going to see a scene. We're going to see a famous scene from Notorious by Alfred Hitchcock. It's the balcony scene, it's the ending of Act 1. It's the first plot point of this film. It's the moment where the protagonist of the film, which is Ingrid Bergman, will make up her mind to get into conflict in order to resolve her problem, whatever her problem is. So we are around minute 27 of the film. Several things have happened so far, and I'll tell you just in order for you to be able to watch the scene. If you remember this film is about this woman who has a father, and her father was a collaborator of Nazis. So in the first scene, film, the opening scene of the film. Her father gets sentenced to many, many years in prison for collaborating with the Nazis. The doors of the courtroom open, she comes out, there are journalists expecting her. They ask her to say something, she says nothing because she's ashamed of her father, and she goes away. But we know what her trouble is. Her father was collaborating with Nazis, she doesn't like it. And because of her shame, what does she do? What do you do when you're ashamed for your father? She starts throwing one party after the other, right? She invites people over, they drink a lot, they dance, they listen to music. She gets wasted every time because she's ashamed. And at one of these parties, almost after everybody's gone, there's somebody left behind. She doesn't know him. It's Cary Grant. He tells her, you don't need to be ashamed for your father. You can do things in order to wash away his shame. You can work with us. Oh, and who are you? We are the intelligence service. We are the spies. You can work with us against the Nazis, and you'll be all right. What does she say? She says yes, not only because this way she can wash away the shame for her father, but also because she likes him. The moment she says yes, they go away. Where do they go? They go to Rio de Janeiro, of all places. This is where a good place to work if you want to get away from the shame. They go to Rio de Janeiro and they are waiting for a mission. They are waiting to be assigned a mission. And if Ingrid Bergman is in Rio de Janeiro with Cary Grant waiting for a mission, and what happens is they fall in love. They like each other. He's a bit distanced from her. She was a drunkard and she's the daughter of a Nazi collaborator. But she is trying hard to prove that she deserves his love. And the first thing she does is she quits drinking. So he stops being so distanced. After all, she quit drinking. She's a gorgeous woman. So right before that, they end up in this apartment that they rent. They end up being all over each other. They make out, they hug, and they kiss. They are this close to go to bed when the phone rings. He says, it must be the office. She says, don't pick it up. He says, come on. It's the office. She says, leave it for later. But no, he's a serious spy. So he picks up the phone while she's all over him. He talks on the phone. She keeps on hugging and caressing him. He puts down the phone. He says, I must go now. She says, okay, I'll cook. I'll prepare dinner for us. You go, do the job, and don't forget to bring a bottle of wine. So he goes to the office. This is where we are at the office, and they tell him there is a mission. There is this horrible Nazi in Rio named Alex Sebastian, and he's preparing something fishy, something big. He used to be a friend of her father's. Her father was a Nazi collaborator, right? And he used to like her, conveniently enough. So, we will send her to seduce him and get information about what they are planning to do. Catherine says, but she's not so experienced. I mean, she's not like us, she's not a spy. They get, oh, what kind of experience does it need? All she has to do is, seduce him and get the info. He says, yeah, but she's not ready for that. So the boss tells him, come on, that's it, that's a mission. Go tell her. And because the news are not so pleasant for him, he forgets the bottle of wine on the desk of his boss. So this is where we are at the film. We are at the point that he has to go back. She's cooking. He has to go back and tell her the news. Tell her what the mission is. We are going to see this scene. But we are going to see the scene with no sound. This is a big scene with a lot of dialogue. But we are not going to be listening. We will only be seeing, watching. We will try to see two things. One, the parts of the scene, beginning, middle, and ending of it. But at the same time, we will try to figure out what is going on, what is happening. Right? Can we do three things simultaneously? Are we up to this? Okay. We want to spot the three parts of the scene. We want to understand what is happening, but I also want you to pay attention to where they are, these two people, where they are in relation to each other every moment of the scene. Is it okay? Let me play. Let me. He's back at the apartment. She has been cooking. Please notice that they are not in the same frame. This is exactly what was happening when the phone rang. What happened? What happened?
It's totally delicious. That he can't stay with you.
Almost 5 minutes long, you see. So what happened in that scene? What happened in the end?
She had to accept it.
Of course she did, otherwise there would be no film, right? It's crazy, but drama works like that. We go to see a romantic comedy, and we know that we'll get married at the end. And we still go to see them. Why? Because it's not important. Right? The important thing is how. How will they end up together? Because it's supposedly difficult. So here, we know she will accept, otherwise there will be no film. But this is a question in the scene, right? Will she accept the job? How do we know that she accepted?
Started drinking.
She started drinking, yeah. She had quit drinking. She had met the love of her life, but now she's back to the booze. That's the only reason that she started drinking again. Sorry? She loves him. How do you know? She does, otherwise she wouldn't drink. So, what else indicates that she accepted the job? Okay. Can you see the parts of this scene?
They didn't start eating, no.
Sorry?
They didn't start eating.
Of course, who wants to eat? After such a thing happened, who would care to eat? Fuck the chicken, she's not a good cook anyway. Did you notice the three parts of the film? There's a beginning in the top of the scene. There's a beginning in the scene. There's an introduction. She doesn't know anything in the beginning. Okay, there's a middle, the part we call conflict. And then there is a resolution.
She was more distant to him at the end. More
She was
distant to him.
absolutely. They are standing at the edges of the frame.
Yeah.
They are as far away from each other as possible in the frame.
While in the beginning
Which
was the opposite.
is exactly what happens in the beginning. In the beginning, they are not even in the same frame. Why? She doesn't know. He knows she doesn't. So she's not in the frame. So she enters the frame.
Cary Grant is in the frame.
Sorry?
Cary Grant is in the frame.
Yeah, in the window. In the window. And she's all alone in the kitchen, mumbling something we cannot hear. And he goes out on the balcony. She's inside, he's outside. In the beginning, they're not in the same frame. Then she's inside, he's outside. Then they get together. And in the end, they are as far away from each other as possible. So we know what happened. We know that she accepted, and this is not nice. A scene, like any drama, has a protagonist. Here, the protagonist of the scene is the protagonist of the film. Here, the protagonist is her. Can you tell the three parts? Can you tell what is the beginning in this scene, what is the middle in the scene, and what is the ending? Do you?
The close shot on her, because before that they're together in the frame, and they're facing each other, and they're together. But this is when someone said that she tells her that he forgot the wine. This is when the conflict starts. No way.
No, but this is when I first asked you what happened. But this is the point where the inciting incident happens. Are you familiar with the term? Right? This is it. That is the question. What's going to happen in the end? Right? This is where the drama starts. There's something happened, something said. We don't listen, but we know something happened. Exactly because of what you say. They are together in the frame, and then, there are the separate close-ups. But the conflict begins a little bit later, when she goes away from you. And when does the third part begin? When she gets up and goes towards him. But listen, you can see the parts of the drama just by watching them move in the frame without listening to anything. This mini drama begins and they are separated. They are not even in the same frame. So they get together, something happens, inciting incident. She doesn't know how to react. A little later, she decides to go away from him. She goes into conflict, right? Because we know what she wants is to be all over him. Like in the beginning of this, the moment she comes out of the kitchen, she is all over him. He's stiff like a cucumber, but she takes his hands and puts them around her waist. Come on, come on. We were making out before the phone rang, right? What has happened? Oh, something has happened. What has happened? Oh, she goes away from him. Conflict, right? And then, in the end, in the third part, she gets up and goes towards him again. To demand, to ask for what she wants. And what is the resolution? They are split apart. They are as far away from each other as possible. So you can see with your eyes what happens in the scene. You can literally see the dramatic fulfillment. It's even more complicated than that because there are other things also that indicate what is happening in this drama. For example, she's not simply going away from him. She goes away from him and sits down, right? Why? We know what he told her. It's heavy. She cannot carry this on her shoulders.
She cannot face him because her back is.
Not yet. This is the next thing that happens. She goes away from him. Oh, conflict. We are not together anymore. And she cannot bear it. So she sits down. And because he has to explain, what does he do? This is when he goes behind her. So we have her sitting down because she cannot stand it. And what is he doing behind her?
He's smoking. Right?
Smoking is an easy solution for a bad actor. And because Cary Grant is not the best actor ever.
Puts his hands in
But
his pocket.
forget it. What is he doing?
He's not looking her in the eyes. Not
Why?
because he's ashamed of what he's going to tell her.
Yes, he's hiding. This is what he's doing. He is hiding there. And because he is hiding, third part, she gets up and goes to him. Let's straighten things out. Right? So you can see not only you can see dramatic movement, but you can also see the characters' disposition towards each other, just by watching them move in the frame. Aristotle said that the myth consists of recognitions and adventures. Translation kills it. He calls them anagnórisi και περιπέτεια. These are the elements of the myth. And he defines those two elements that build up myths. He says that recognition is the journey, is covering the distance from ignorance to knowledge. This is one of the building bricks of myth. Recognitions. You don't know and then you know. And this is a whole journey. And the other one, peripetia, according to Erasmus, adventure, is the journey from happiness to unhappiness, or vice versa, from unhappiness to happiness. These are the building bricks of myth. And he also said that when in a myth, recognition and adventure happen simultaneously at the same time, this myth is called a complex myth, and it's the best kind of myth. When recognition and adventure happen at the same time, or when the journey from ignorance to knowledge is responsible for the journey from happiness to unhappiness, or vice versa. When recognition causes the journey from happiness to unhappiness. The thing you know makes you unhappy, or happy if you were unhappy, and so on. And this is the complex myth. He also said that one thing which is, again, really, really interesting and funny. He said that the best kind of adventure is the journey from happiness to unhappiness. Greeks. Big guys. He also said that the best kind of adventure is the journey from happiness to unhappiness for a king. Greeks again. Why? Why for a king? Can you tell?
Because, I don't know, maybe because a king should be the happiest person in the world. Because he's the ruler, he would be the...
So the journey is longer. The journey is longer. Keep that in mind, that adventure, that the journey from happiness to unhappiness, or vice versa, is what we are trying to build here. What you are trying to build in each and every one of your scripts. You have someone, hopefully a protagonist, who travels the distance. The bigger the distance, the better the drama. That's why he insists that the best kind is from happiness to unhappiness for a king, because the distance is long. Make sure that your characters do not exit the scene in the exact same mood as they entered the scene. Make sure that something happens in the scene. Make sure that there's either recognition going on, journey from ignorance to knowledge, or an adventure, the journey from happiness to unhappiness, or vice versa. Robert McKee simplified it, like Americans do, by saying that in a scene, if he comes in, the protagonist, with a minus mood, he should exit with a plus mood, right? But he's saying that just what Aristotle said in a very simplistic way. These two people enter the scene in a different mood, right? Can you tell which mood they enter? Each one of them enters the scene? How does she enter the scene? She is what? She's the happiest person on earth, come on. She's in a Rio apartment looking over the beach. She's cooking, she's expecting him to bring the wine. And he? He's unhappy. Why? Sorry? The bad news for who?
For her, not to tell her that she will have to get it done.
For her. And for him? Is it good news for him? No, it's not good news for him. Why? He also loves her. Right? So, the moment they enter the scene, she's happy, he's not happy. What do they want? What does she want? That's the only thing. She wants everything else to. Right? She wants him. What does he want? Her? This is not to give her, not to break the news. This is impossible. So what does he want? What does he expect? For her to say no. This is what he expects, for her to say no. Can she do that? Can she say no? Why?
Because she's ashamed of the past.
Exactly.
But you should know that she can say
No, she doesn't. He's Cary Grant. Of course she can say no. Because now he loves her. If she says yes, she means she will fuck this Nazi guy. So what does he want? He wants her to say, no, I'm not doing such things. I'm not this kind of girl. So you see, the scene begins and the conflict is already set up. Because they are facing, both of them, they are facing a dead end. Okay? She's happy, she's going to face recognition, she's going to travel the distance from ignorance to knowledge, and what she will learn is going to be devastating, because it's against what she expects. And he expects something that cannot happen. Okay. Let's see the scene like we should see scenes, right? With dialogue. The thing is that from what we have already said, dialogue is not that important, right? We have gotten everything. There's no secret left. We will see the scene with the dialogue and everything, so you will notice how much dialogue there is in the scene, how many things they are saying. But then keep in mind that we have gotten everything without dialogue. Look at this. Okay, I will help with the sound, because if we cannot hear everything, I will help. What did she say? Marriage is gonna be, we eat with forks and knives, we're gonna eat in style. Marriage is gonna be wonderful with these things happening every day. This is what she thinks, but we didn't need to hear her say so. We could see, not only we could see, we already knew, right? So dialogue, just like music in a film, just confirms what we already know. There is no new information here, right? Although the line is great. Marriage must be wonderful with these things happening every day. Me?
What's the matter? Don't look like that. It's trouble. One has nothing but a tell Mama what's going on. All this is what you will run at dinner. Come on, rest in peace. What is done to me your brow? No, no. Not on the easy one. The time has come when one can enter the wife and with all the things. This madness between the couple.
So see, nothing is told yet. She said, look, I'll make it easy for you, maybe it's time for you to tell me that you are married and you have a wonderful woman and two adorable kids, and this madness between us cannot go on anymore. And he said, I bet you have heard that line often enough. He almost called her a prostitute, right? He is so fucking bitter.
Right to go second.
Skip it. We have other things to talk about. We've got a job.
Oh, so there's a job.
You remember a man named Sebastian?
Alex Sebastian?
Yes.
One of my father's friends, yes.
He had quite a crush on you.
I wasn't very responsive.
Well, he's here at the head of a lot.
What is he doing? Fishing. Yeah. Yeah. Breaks the name. I mean, he's looking at her in his superb style, trying to see her reactions, trying to catch her reactions. She's very cool, right? Yeah, Alex Sebastian, yes. Friend of my father's. He had a crush on you. Yes, I was not interested. She's absolutely cool.
The German business concern.
His family always had money.
He's part of the combine that built up the German war machine and hopes to keep on going.
Something big?
That's all the earmarks being something big. We have to contact him.
We have to contact him. That's all he says. And she immediately understands, right? Because she goes away. Because she knows what it means. Conflict. She cannot escape it.
Go on, let's have all it.
We're meeting him tomorrow. The rest is up to you. You've got to work on him and land him.
Mother Hart. She makes lawful papers.
There are no papers. You land him. Find out what's going on inside his house, what the group around him is up to, and report to us.
I suppose you knew about this pretty little job of mine all the time.
No. I only just found out about it.
Did you say anything? I mean, maybe I wasn't the girl for such shenanigans.
I figured that was up to you.
What is she doing? Fishing. Fishing back. Yeah. Did you say anything that I'm not the girl for this guy? And what does he say? No. He's lying. Why? He wants her to tell, I'm not gonna do it without any extra help, right? He has to know that she loves him and she will not do such things. So that's why he withholds information. That's why he is hiding. No, I figured that was up to you, right? She's fishing. What did you tell him? Did you tell me you love me, right? Tell me you love me and I will not do it. And he is saying, tell me you love me and you will not do it, right? A dead end, right from the start.
If you care to back out.
I suppose you told them Alicia Huberman would have this Sebastian eating out of her hands in a couple of weeks. She's good at that, always was.
I didn't say anything.
Not a word for that. That little lovesick lady left an hour ago.
I told you that's the assignment.
Well, now, don't get sore. I'm only fishing for a little bird call from my dream man. One of the remarks such as, how dare you gentlemen suggest that Alicia Huberman, the new Miss Huberman, be submitted to so ugly a fate?
That's not funny.
Third part.
Do you want me to take the job?
You're answering for yourself.
asking you.
It's up to you.
Father, please. Darling, what you didn't tell them, tell me.
Climax.
I do believe I'm nice, but I love you and I'll never change back.
I'm waiting for your answer.
What a little tile you are.
She leaves
Like
him.
many women.
She
Not
leaves
for
him.
her sake.
She's left alone in the frame.
That's where she belongs. Oh, death. Death.
Because this is exactly what has happened. She's left all alone. And we know what her decision will be. We already know before she says it.
When do I go to work for Uncle Sam?
Tomorrow morning.
Oh, we shouldn't have had this out here. It's all cold now.
This is what I mean by saying that there are some great lines in this scene, right? It's all cold now, and she obviously doesn't talk about the chicken. There are great lines, like, I bet you have heard that line often enough. Like, I'm only fishing for a bird call for my dream man, right? It's the scene is brilliantly written by the scriptwriter, and the lines of dialogue are fantastic. And finally,
What are you looking for?
I had a bottle of champagne on the dentist somewhere.
we know where he left it, and we know why. Because he was frustrated with what he had heard, so he forgot about the champagne. Notice that the scene works in two levels. There are two things happening in that scene. There are two lines of story simultaneously evolving. One line, these two lines are actually the two narrative lines of the film. The film has two storylines. The one is the love affair between him and her, and the other one is the Nazi story, the spy story, right? Notice that in that scene, both stories move forward at the same time. And if we will not see it again. I'm bored of that scene. I must change it. I must use another one. Simone, right? Enough is enough. If you see this scene again by yourselves, you will notice that there is one line which is the love story. This is how the scene starts. Marriage will be wonderful with these things happening every day. What's wrong? We have a job. Second storyline, the job, the Nazi story. Okay? There's Alex Sebastian. He had a crush on you. I wasn't very responsive. We have to contact him. She goes away. Okay, tell me, Mata Hari, making love for the papers, there are no papers, blah, blah, blah. The job, the Nazi story. I bet you knew about it. No, I didn't know anything. What did you tell them? Which is going back to the other story, back to the love story. I didn't tell them anything, it's up to you. So she gets up and goes to him. What you didn't tell them, tell me. Oh, it's up to you, it's up to you. Love story. What a nice pal you are. You don't support me, you don't believe in me. She goes away. When do I go? When do I go to work? These two storylines interweaved with each other, right? Moving ahead at the same time, making the scene look dense, complex, thoroughly worked out. So, my proposal is to think of your scenes, especially the critical scenes in your screenplays, as mini dramas, and treat them like that. First of all, these scenes, these critical scenes, like this one, they need space. They need room in order to be developed. Don't be stingy. We love those scenes. I mean, we, the audience, your future audience, we love those big scenes where things happen, where drama is unfolding. Don't be stingy. Let them breathe. Give them space. Develop them in full. Let them have 3 parts, a beginning, a middle, and an end. This is a natural way of narrating. This is how people narrate. This is how good narrators narrate. Make sure you know what the characters in the scene want when they enter the scene. What do they want? Make sure that at least one of them exits the scene in a different mood than the mood he entered the scene. Make sure that something happened for him, that he traveled the distance, happiness to unhappiness, or vice versa. And last but not least, keep in mind that somebody, your future audience, your viewer, is watching a film. And believe it or not, we watch films with the eyes. Yes, there is music, yes, there is dialogue, but these are minor things. These are not important things. Don't rely on the dialogue. Maybe the sound system is not so good. Or maybe your girlfriend has this thing with your ear and she keeps on. But it's never enough to ruin the film because we get the film with the eyes. This is, I mean, you remember that the visuals can help tell your story. This is the way we tell stories in cinema. So remember that there are people in space. Use them and the space. Move them. You can see how simple it is. She goes to him, she goes away, she sits down, he gets behind her, she gets up, she goes away, they are split apart. And he has told the story. And then you see this, there is nothing spectacular. I mean, so there is direction-wise, there's nothing spectacular. It's the ABC of filmmaking, but the scene is spectacular. It's absolutely effective. That's why he's who he is. So use the people, use the space, let us know what is happening. Just with what we see. I'll use another one. Are you up to it? Yes. Or whenever you want to go to dinner, just call me.
Don't shake like that, Tony. What's needed to do?
Stop. No, forget it.
I'm waiting. Don't bring home, Mike. Where you going?
Shopping.
What's the matter with you, man? What's with this missing on the mom?
I just said hello. Can I kiss my sister off?
And she good enough for you? How do you kiss mama on you? Just all of a sudden you're like a Romeo.
So you're not supposed to kiss your mother on the mouth.
That's what I'm talking about. How's that?
That looks like something. Get back. I can't see nothing with your stomach in the way now. What are you giving me dirty looks for? Supposed to be a champion. Eat like there's no tomorrow. That's look. That alone took you to get to the title over the years of hard work. I ain't forgot. You're gonna defend it next month. Keep eating. Give me dirty looks. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Hey, Joe, what happened to you inside the cold leather? What? You gave my beat.
You mean when I caught us at the taxi cab door and bang, smacked him with a glass and everything?
Yeah.
I told you about that. Huh?
No.
I never told you?
Well, you never told me.
It was no big thing anyway. I smacked him in the mouth. He was drunk. He started some shit. Had to go downtown, straighten it all out of town. It's all down. I'm not supposed to be anyway.
How come you never told me about it?
What did I have anything to do with you?
Had nothing to do with me?
No.
Who that has something to do with? Becky?
Hey, Jack. I just explained the whole thing to you, didn't I?
Yeah.
It was between me and Sal. It had anything to do with you. Vicky, I want to tell you about it.
That's not what I know you.
What do you mean that's not what you heard?
That's not what I know you.
What'd you hear?
I like some things.
You heard about me and Sal?
I heard things, Joe.
Yeah, you heard that I cracked Sal all around. What did you hear?
I heard things.
What things you heard?
I heard some things.
Hey, you heard things. You want to worry? Don't start that worrying shit. You know what you should worry about? Worry about this title fight next month. That's what you should worry about. Do that. Christ.
Sal be fuck Vicky?
What?
Sal be fuck Vicky?
Hey, Jack. I'm
Joe.
sorry, shit. No, really, don't stop.
Joe, I asked you. Didn't I ask you to keep an eye on
And
her?
I did keep an eye on her. Yes, I did.
How come you with me?
I told you that. I told you what that was all about. It had nothing to do with you. He thinks he's a wise guy now.
Don't lie.
I'm not lying.
Huh?
Hey, I'm your brother. You're supposed to believe me. You trust me?
No, I don't.
Well, you don't. It's
I don't
nice.
trust you when it comes to her. I don't trust nobody. Tell me what happened.
I told you exactly what happened. He got out of line, I slapped him around, Tommy straightened it all out, and it's all over.
To you, that much. I gotta accept your answer, you know? But I'm telling you now, if I hear anything, I swear on one, I'm gonna kill somebody. I'm gonna kill somebody, Joey.
Well, go ahead, kill everybody. You're a tough guy, go kill people. Kill Vicky, kill Sally, kill Tommy Como, kill me while you're at it. What do I care? You're killing yourself the way you eat. You're a fat fuck, look at you.
I mean, I understand. We need to kill you.
Me, kill me. Start here, kill me first, do me a fucking favor. Because you're driving me crazy. You're a killer, you're a big shot. Just kill him, you're a killer.
Excuse me, what do you mean by you?
So, what does that mean? It means nothing.
You don't even know what you meant by you.
I mean nothing.
Joey, that meant something. You mentioned Tommy, you mentioned Sal, you mentioned you. You included you and them. You could have said anybody, but you said you and them.
You really let this girl ruin your life. Look at you. She really did some job on you. You know how fucking nuts you are. Look what she did to you.
You fucked my wife.
What?
You fucked my wife.
How could you ask me a question? How could you ask me? I'm your brother. You ask me that? Where do you get your balls big enough to ask me that?
Just tell me.
I'm not answering. I'm not gonna answer that.
smart, Joe. You give me all these answers, but you ain't give me the right answer. Maybe she didn't. Did you or did you not?
I'm not gonna answer. It's a sick question, you're a sick fuck, and I'm not that sick that I'm gonna answer. I'm not telling you anything. I'm gonna leave. To an close, tell her I'm home. I'm not staying in this nut house with you. You're a sick bastard. I feel sorry for you. What do you do? You know what you should do? Try a little more fucking, a little less eating. You won't have troubles upstairs in your bedroom. You won't pick it out on me and everybody else. You understand, you fucking wacko? You're cracking up. Fucking screwball, you.
Let me stop it here. Is there anybody who hasn't seen this film? No. Niccolo, you of all people, you disappoint me.
Sorry.
Why?
I'm real.
Why? So everybody knows what has happened before, right? In this film. It's the story of Jake LaMotta. He wanted to be this champion of the world, but the mafia wouldn't let him, so he had to sell games in order to be allowed to have a shot for the title. And we are right in the middle of the film when, after selling games, after being given the chance to have a shot at the title, he has won the belt. He is the champion of the world. The guy you were seeing there is the champion of the world. And it's this, we are right in the middle of the film, and in the middle of the film, this story starts that he will lose the only ally he has left, and it's his brother. It's the only person that stood by him throughout his story. And the issue is this blonde woman, Vicky, his second wife. He's so jealous of her all the time. She's constantly the problem. And this is the reason that he will lose his brother too. He has lost everything so far, everyone so far, he will lose his brother too. And this is the beginning of this sequence of losing the brother. So they are referring to a scene that has happened earlier in the film, that he was preparing for a match, and he was training for a match, and Vicky, he had asked his brother to keep an eye on her, and Vicky went out by herself, and Joe Pesci saw her in this club, sent her away immediately, sent her back home, and he beat the guy who was a guy from the mafia who was hanging out with her. Jake LaMotta knows nothing about it. He was never told what happened that night. He was protected by his brother. So this is the issue in the scene. This is what they talk about. They talk about this, and the trigger for all this discussion is this kiss. Joe Pesci, his brother, kisses his sister-in-law when she walks in the house, but Jake doesn't approve of the kiss, right? So this is the trigger for this discussion. If you see the scene again, you will notice that there are 2 or 3 things happening together. One is the story with Vicky, is his relationship with Vicky. The other one is the story with the mafia guys. And the third thing is that there is a match coming, that in a month, he's going to defend the title. So these 3 lines interweave as the scene unfolds in front of us. Beginning, middle, and end, introduction, why this kiss, blah, 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 what happened back then conflict when Joe Pesci starts narrating his version of what happened, and then climax when he finally thinks that his brother might have fucked his wife, right? The scene ends with this line by Joe Pesci, "You are cracking up." But it's amazing that we know that from the beginning, don't we? that he's cracking up? How do we know? How do we know that he's cracking up? How do we know?
She doesn't train.
Sorry?
She doesn't train anymore. He's not.
The answer is there. It's not in another scene. He doesn't train. So the answer is there. He's cracking up. You see?
What's the matter with you, man? Did you just get some other mom?
The sandwich?
The television, for Christ's sake. Not the sandwich. What's wrong with the sandwich? But look at this television. It's cracking up. No, Niccolo, look at. I mean, you've heard about this guy who directed the film. I mean, this guy, Martin Scorsese, right?
Of course.
Oh, why do you think? And have you heard about the other guy who wrote Paul Schrader? Why did they choose to have him kneeling down on the floor next to a TV showing absolutely nothing? Why? Why is this guy? Can this be accidental? Can you, maybe this guy then said, what shall I do, Martin? Why don't you kneel next to the television and let's get over with the fucking scene. It's not well written anyway. If it was up to me, I would cut it from the screenplay, but Paul Schrader, he's a wacko, he would get mad. No, it didn't happen this way. It didn't happen this way. It was in the script, but the TV was not showing anything. It was in the script that the TV was, how do you say that here? Yeah. And he's trying to fix it. Because it's not a TV, Niccolo. This is not a TV, this is the protagonist's head. That's why he's kneeling next to it. No, don't laugh. It's not funny. It's really serious. It's his head. This is what's happening in this scene. And what is okay, now that I'm in this shot, I will ask you, what is the other one doing? Okay, he's cracking up, and it's been told. We've been warned. He's cracking up. His head doesn't work. If you notice the scene, how the scene unfolds, you will notice that he's going nuts. What happened there? Did he fuck Vicky? Why didn't you tell me? What happened with Salvo? Why did you kiss her like that? Did you fuck Vicky? He's cracking up. This is exactly what is happening. And we've been warned.
He does not have a clear vision.
No. He cannot see. What is the other one doing?
Just waiting for the...
No. He's doing something more than that. Why doesn't he tell me what? Why doesn't he tell him what happened back then? Okay. What does he do? The answer is there. He's protecting this woman. He's protecting Vicky. That's why he didn't tell her. That's Vicky right behind him. This was not a decision by the prop master. Or it was. And Martin approved it. Just because he knows what this guy is doing in this scene. He is protecting Vicky. That's why he doesn't tell him what happened then. That's why he's trying to talk him out of this issue. That's why every time Vicky is referred He says, look at you, look at your belly, you're defending your title. Get a grip on yourself. Right? This is what happens in the scene. The one is cracking up and the other one is protecting Vicky. And it's all there. He did it right from the start. This is the credit sequence. Even before that, by the use of music, but look at this brilliant picture. How the visuals can help you. He tells the whole film in that particular image. He promises a film, and it's a big film. It's not like big in duration and big in quality, in cinematic weight. He promises everything. He promises the story of a lonely man, of a man who is isolated, who is shadow boxing, but also the story of someone who's not just a boxer. That's why the slow motion. He's so graceful. It's like dancing in that scene, right? Do you remember it? This is a story of an artist. Very lonely, very isolated. What's going to happen in the end? What else do you see in this picture? What else does he tell you about him, about this artist, boxer?
He's gonna end up alone.
Alone?
In a cage.
He's in a cage, and that's brilliant. Not only he's in a cage, he will end up in jail. The bars are the other way, but he's in a cage. And the cage, not only he's an animal in a cage, right? Do you see his robe? Yeah, he's an animal in a cage. In the first scene of the film, Jake LaMotta is having a fight with his first wife over an overcooked steak. And he swears at her, pushes her, sends her away. She's screaming at him, and a neighbor from the next floor shouts, "Will you shut up, you animal?" First scene of the film. So I'm saying that these things are not accidental, not accidentally. It's not the costume designer's decision that he will wear this robe, this animal print robe. It's not an accidental decision that he will have this shot that will give you the impression of a cage and the promise of jail. That's why he's isolated, although this is a crowded stadium he's in. And it's not an accidental choice that he's dancing in this slow motion shadow boxing, because the whole film is about a guy who fights with himself, with his cracking head. The visuals can help. One more. And then I promise I will sleep. For two reasons. One more for 2 reasons. Because both of them are in English. So, and none of them is European. This is the beginning, again, the opening scene of a film, The Return by Andrzej Zwiaginczy. And the beginning of the film is also critical. Why? Because we introduce our narrative universe to the viewers. We are telling them, what is this gonna be about? So much fun playing these two scenes one after the other. I mean, the opening scene of Raging Bull and this one, because obviously you see a cage here too, right? Okay. It's not just me, right? He's in a cage, this guy. What this film is about, it's already said in the first scene. What is it going to be about? What was this scene about?
Is the power of the movie or staying away?
No. What were they doing?
Courage.
Trying to grow up. Trying to prove that they are grown-ups. That's why they jump from this shitty thing. Otherwise, there's no other reason. The only reason for you to jump from this thing is to prove that you dare, right? And so it's a competition between boys that want to prove that they are not boys. And this one, who's the protagonist of the film, is not there yet. He doesn't dare jump. He's trapped in his cage. And this cage is on top of this little iron tower. And we know that those of us who have seen the film know that this is how the film will end, right? He will grow up. He will grow up fast during this film, during this drama, in this drama. Because of this drama, he will grow up, and he will grow up that much that he's going to push his father down from one of those towers. That's what boys do when they grow up. No, I mean, that's a natural step, right? You have to get rid of the father because he's standing in the way, and the father is standing in the way. And this is his story. There is a story of someone who doesn't dare in the beginning, but the distance he will cover is that in the end, not only he will dare, he will push the father down. The father, the God, or the authoritative system, whichever way you may want to read this film, this brilliant film. But just let me This was the first image we got, right? This is the opening of this scene. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a film about a father. So, see how the visuals, the setting, the way he uses the location, the way he uses the setting, promises a story, tells the story. Okay, I'll finish with an anecdote. In the making of this film, there is this nice little story about this shot, this panoramic of the sea that ends with him being trapped on the top of the tower in the cage. There's a question, where the fuck is the camera standing? Because there's no place for the camera to stand if the camera is facing the tower. we can see that there's only sea. It's not on a boat. Obviously, the shot is steady, and there's a lot of discussion how they shot it. They cut down a crane. They put the one end of the crane on the foot of the tower, and the crane was extending towards the sea, and the camera was remotely driven to do this panoramic shot because the director wanted it. And his, how do you call them? The guys with the machinery?
Great.
Yeah. This guy, he asked for a day off to come up with an idea, and he finally came up with the idea, and they shot this shot that the director wants. Spectacular, but also so important. Why? Because it tells the story, not because it's so spectacular, but it's so meaningful, it's so closely connected to the heart of this narration. This is my advice and my wish, that you will start thinking about your scenes in more than one way. Not just putting down the dialogue, who's there and what is his age, but also try to use the space in order to tell us what is happening, even without the dialogue. I know it's a hard job, but at the same time, it's a lot of fun. That's why we keep on doing this job. There's no other reason. So thank you for listening, for patience.
Bravo!